Okay, to begin, we're going to take a look at 8 and 82 hundredths divided by 6 tenths. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this and set it up for long division. So if I write this as 6 tenths here, we'll put 8 and 82 hundredths here. Now, we want the divisor to be a whole number. So how we're going to do that is we're going to move the decimal place over once by multiplying it by 10. Now, whatever we do on the outside, we need to also do on the inside. So if we do that, that will give us 88 and 2 tenths. So I'm going to rewrite this. So now we're going to have 6 here, and we're going to have 88 and 2 tenths here. So now we're going to treat this as regular long division. So to begin, the first thing I want to do is bring the decimal up. Now I'm going to be looking at 6 times what gets me close to 8 without going over. Well, that's going to be 1. And so I know that 1 times 6 is 6. 8 minus 6 is 2, and now I'm going to bring down my 8. Now I'm looking to see 6 times what gets me close to 28 without going over. Well, that's 4. So 4 times 6 is equal to 24. And 24 subtracted from 28 is 4. And I'm going to bring down this 2. And now I'm looking at 6 times what gets me close to 42 without going over. That is 7. So 7 times 6 is 42. And when I subtract, I have a remainder of 0. So my answer is 14 and 7 tenths. Now the original problem, 8 and 82 hundredths divided by 6 tenths, also has a quotient of 14 and 7 tenths. Okay, now let's look at 75 divided by 2 and 5 tenths. Again, I'm going to set this up for long division. So I'm going to write 2 and 5 tenths, and then I'm going to write 75 here. Now in this case, I want the divisor to be a whole number, so again, I'm going to multiply it times 10, which will make it 25, but I also have to do that to 75. So whenever I do that, that moves the decimal over. Well, I'm going to have to put a 0 there to hold the place. So I'm going to rewrite this as 25 here and 750 here. Now when I look at this, and whenever I see 25, I always think of quarters. So I know that 25 times 3 is 75 cents. So 25 times 3 is going to give me 75. 75 minus 75 is 0. Okay, now this is a very common error that you will see students make, where they get, and when they subtract, they get 0 and they think they're finished. That's not the case. If you just leave this as 3, you'll miss the problem. So we want to make sure that we bring down this 0. And now we're looking at 25 times what gets us close to 0 without going over. And that is 0. So 0 times 25 is equal to 0. And we have 0 as our remainder. So the answer is 30. Okay, now let's look at 4 and 8 hundredths divided by 1 and 2 tenths. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to set it up for long division, and I'm going to place 1 and 2 tenths here, and here I'm going to put 4 and 8 hundredths. Now, again, I want to have a whole number as my divisor, so I'm going to multiply by 10, which moves the decimal over once, but anything I do on the outside, I also need to do on the inside. So that's going to be 40 and 8 tenths. So I'm going to rewrite this. So here I'll have 12, and here I'm going to have 40 and 8 tenths. So the first thing I'm going to do is bring my decimal up, and I'm going to say 12 times what gets me close to 40 without going over. Well, that's 3. 3 times 12 is 36. Now 40 minus 36 is 4. And for anyone who needs to see that, I borrowed, as they call it, and then I regroup, and the 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. And so now I'm going to bring down my 8, and I'm looking at 12 times what gets me close to 48 without going over. The answer is 4. And so I'll do 4 times 12, which equals 48. And I have a remainder of 0. So my quotient is 3 4/10. Okay, finally we're going to look at 2 94/100 divided by 21/100. So I'm going to set this up for long division, and I'm going to rewrite this with 21/100 here and 2 94/100 here. Okay, now in this case, I'm going to have to move the decimal twice to get a whole number as my divisor. So that means I'm going to be multiplying it times 100. And so when I do that, that brings the decimal over here. And whatever I do on the outside, I'm going to do on the inside. And that's going to make it 294. So let's rewrite that as 21 here and 294 here. Now again, technically the decimal is there. So I'm going to look and say 21 times 1 gets me 21, because that gets me close to 29 without going over. 29 minus 21 is 8. And I'm going to bring down my 4. And now I'm looking at 21 times 4, which is going to be 84. And so my quotient is 14.